Texts. Khuddhaka Nikàya, The Short Passages. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by H. T. Francis and R. A. Neal. Jataka No. 411. Susīma-Jātaka. In Past the Hares, etc. The master told this tale while living in Jetavana monastery, about the great renunciation. The brethren were sitting in the hall of truth, praising the Buddha's renunciation. The master, finding that this was their topic, said, "Brethren, it is not strange that I should now make the great renunciation and retirement from the worldly life, I who have for many 100,000 ages exercised perfection. Of old also I gave up the reign over the kingdom of Kasi, 300 leagues in extent, and made the renunciation." And so he told the old tale. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the Bodhisattva was conceived in the womb of his priest's chief wife. On the day of his birth, the king also had a son born. On the naming day they called the great being Susīma Kumara, and the king's son Brahmadatta Kumara. The king, seeing the two were born on the same day, had the Bodhisattva given to the nurse and brought up together with his own son. They both grew up fair, like sons of gods. They both learned all sciences at Taxila and came home again. The prince became viceroy, eating, drinking, and living along with the Bodhisattva. At his father's death, he became king, giving great honor to the Bodhisattva and making him his priest. One day he decorated the city, and decorated like Sakka, king of gods, he went round the city in procession, seated on the shoulder of a royal elephant in his pride, equal to Eravana, with the Bodhisattva behind on the elephant's back. The queen mother, looking out from the royal window to see her son, saw the priest behind him as he came back from the procession. She fell in love with him and entering her chamber thought, "If I cannot win him, I shall die here." So she left her food and lay there. The king, not seeing her, asked after her. When he heard she was ill, he went to her, and asked with respect what ailed her. She would not tell for shame. He sat on the royal throne, and sent his own chief queen to find what ailed his mother. She went and asked, stroking the queen mother's back. Women do not hide secrets from women. And the secret was told. The queen went and told the king. He said, "Well, go and comfort her. I will make the priest king, and make her his chief queen." She went and comforted her. The king sent for the priest and told him the matter. "Friend, save my mother's life. You shall be king, she your chief queen, I viceroy." The priest said, "It cannot be," but being asked again he consented. And the king made the priest king, the queen mother chief queen, and himself viceroy. They lived all in harmony together, but the Bodhisattva felt weak amid a householder's life. He left desires and leaned to a religious life. Careless of the pleasures of sense, he stood and sat and lay alone, like a man bound in jail or a cock in a cage. The chief queen thought, "The king avoids me, he stands and sits and lies alone. He is young and fresh, I am old and have gray hairs. What if I were to tell him a story that he has one gray hair? Make him believe it and seek my company." One day, as if cleaning the king's head, she said, "Your Majesty is getting old. There is a gray hair on your head. Pull it out and put it in my hand." She pulled a hair out, but threw it away and put into his hand one of her own gray hairs. When he saw it, fear of death made the sweat start from his forehead, though it was like a plate of gold. He admonished himself, saying, "Susīma, you have become old in your youth. All this time sunk in the dirt of desire, like a village pig wallowing in filth and mire, you cannot leave it. Quit desires, and become an ascetic in the Himalaya. It is high time for the religious life. And with this thought, he uttered the first stanza. In past the hairs were dark, clustering about my brow. White today. Susīma, notice. Time for religion now. So the bodhisattva praised the religious life. But the queen saw she had caused him to leave her instead of loving her, and in fear, wishing to keep him from the religious life by praising his body, she uttered 2 stanzas. Mine, not yours, the silvered hair. Mine the head from which it came. For your good the lie I dare. One such fault desist to blame. You are young, and fair to see, like a tender plant in spring. Keep your kingdom, smile on me. Seek not now what age will bring. But the bodhisattva said, Lady, you tell of what must come. As age ripens, these dark hairs must turn and become pale like beetle. I see the change and breaking up of body that comes in years. In the ripening of age, to royal maids and all the rest, though they are tender as a wreath of blue lotus flowers, fair as gold, and drunken with the pride of their glorious youth. Such, lady, is the dreadful end of living beings, and, moreover, showing the truth with the charm of a Buddha, he uttered 2 stanzas. I have noticed the youthful maid, swaying like the tender stalk, in her pride of form dressed. Men are witched wherever she walk. It is the same one I have scanned. Quivering, with tremors, staff in hand, bent like rafter tree at last. In this stanza, the great being showed the misery of beauty, and now stated his discontent with the householder's life. Such the thoughts I think over. Lonely nights the thoughts allow. Layman's life I love no more. Time for religion now. Delight in layman's life is a weak stay. The wise man cuts it off and goes his way, renouncing joys of sense and all their sway. Thus teaching both the delight and misery of desires, he showed the truth with all a Buddha's charm. He sent for his friend and made him take the kingdom again. He left his majesty and power amid the loud cryings of kinsmen and friends. He became an ascetic sage in the Himalaya, and entering on the ecstasy of meditation, became destined for the world of Brahma. After the lesson, the master explained the truths, and giving the drink of ambrosia to many, he identified the birth. At that time the chief queen was the mother of Rahul, the king was Ananda, and King Susīma was I myself. Source: adapted from archaic translation by H. T. Francis and R. A. Neal. Jataka number 412. Koṭisimbali-Jātaka. I endured with etc. The master told this tale while living in Jetavana monastery, concerning rebuke of sin. The incident leading to the tale will appear in the Panna birth. On this occasion the master, perceiving that 500 brethren were overcome by thoughts of desire in the house of the golden pavement, gathered the assembly and said, Brethren, it is right to distrust where distrust is proper. Sins surround a man as banyans and such plants grow up around a tree. In this way of old a spirit living in the top of a cotton tree saw a bird voiding the banyan seeds it had eaten among the branches of the cotton tree, and became terrified otherwise her dwelling should by that come to destruction. And so he told a tale of old. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the bodhisattva was a tree spirit living in the top of a cotton tree. A king of the rocks assumed a shape 150 leagues in extent, and dividing the water in the great ocean by the blast of his wings, He seized by the tail a king of snakes 1,000 fathoms long, and making the snake disgorge what he had seized in his mouth, he flew along the tree tops towards the cotton tree. The snake king thought, "I will make him drop me and let me go," so he stuck his hood into a banyan tree and wound himself round it firmly. Owing to the rock king's strength and the great size of the snake king, the banyan was uprooted. But the snake king would not let go the banyan. The rock king took the snake king, banyan tree and all, to the cotton tree, laid him on the trunk, opened his belly and ate the fat. Then he threw the rest of the carcass into the sea. Now in that banyan there was a certain bird, who flew up when the banyan was thrown away, and perched in one of the branches high on the cotton tree. The tree spirit, seeing the bird, shook and trembled with fear, thinking, "This bird will let its droppings fall on my trunk. A growth of banyan or of fig will arise and go spreading all over my tree. So my home will be destroyed." The tree shook to the roots with the trembling of the spirit. The rock king perceived the trembling, and spoke 2 stanzas in inquiry as to the reason. I endured with the 1,000 fathoms length of that king's snake. His size and my huge bulk you endured, and yet you did not quake. But now this tiny bird you bear, so small compared to me. You shake with fear and tremble. But for which reason, cotton tree? Then the deity spoke 4 stanzas in explanation of the reason. Flesh is your food, O king. The birds is fruit. Seeds of the banyan and the fig he'll shoot. And bow tree too, and all my trunk pollute. They will grow trees in shelter of my stem. And I shall be no tree, thus hid by them. Other trees, once strong of root and rich in branches, plainly show how the seeds that birds do carry in destruction lay them low. Parasitic growths will bury even the mighty forest tree. This is why, O king, I tremble when the fear to come I see. Hearing the tree spirit's words, the rock king spoke the final stanza. Fear is right if things are fearful. Against the coming danger guard. Wise men look on both worlds calmly, if they present fears discard. So speaking, the rock king by his power drove the bird away from that tree. After the lesson, the master explained the truths, beginning with the words, "It is right to distrust where distrust is proper," and identified the birth. After the truths, 500 brethren were established in sainthood. At that time Sariputra was the rock king and I myself the tree spirit.